Okay, let's make this clear before I start this video. I do know about what happened to Hulk. He's gone. But I'm making my own separate video on it. I'll be filming it tomorrow. I'm not going to film it now. And I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm going to film it and then I'm going to upload it tomorrow. I believe I can do it early in the morning because I have something I want or possibly need to do. I'm not sure about it yet. But it's either going to be done in the morning or be done at night. But I want to make this really, really clear. I know he's passed away. You don't need to leave a message down below about it. I know he passed away. I'm going to make my video on it. I'll probably make it a Gump report. I'm not doing a Gump goodness. But let's get into the aftermath after Slammiversary. Let me give it to you like this. You look at Slammiversary, it was a very controversial show. Let's make it very clear. What happened with Marsha? I had a feeling they may pull the trigger on putting on JC. But I was not surprised about what happened with Trick Williams. I know people are not happy, and I understand why. I've been talking about it for a while. If you guys didn't know, and I have been saying it, for quite a while, I have been talking about what was going to go on with TNA working with, at the time, TKO WWE, which is now known as Silver Lake. Silver Lake WWE now exists. It's not TKO Group Holdings. It is Silver Lake. I knew this was going to happen. I knew Trick was going to probably make it to Slammiversary, and I had a good feeling that maybe if they didn't take it off Trick, he's going to Bound for Glory, and look where he's going. I don't expect him to drop it. But when it came to JC, and it came to Marsha, I didn't know if, I say one more time, if WWE was going to be respectful and share it. And that means one title goes to one side, one title goes to the other side, and then you build stories that can cross-platform. That did not happen. It didn't happen. And I know people are going to say, dude, this is wonderful. For you, yeah. But when you look at it from the perspective of what are we really getting? Are we getting a real partnership? Or are we getting TNA being used by Silver Lake to make themselves more palatable for a much more wider audience than you think there would be? Remember, there's a lot of promotions out there that are small, but they got showings on the internet and they got showings on TV. And this feels like what happened during the 1980s and early 1990s when Vince went head-to-head with the promotions of the National Wrestling Alliance. I'm sorry to botch it because I don't want to go there, but I have to go there. The National Wrestling Alliance had more than 40 different promotions, I'd say 30 or 40 different promotions under its umbrella. One of them was WWE. One of them was WCW. One of them was ECW. And each one of them broke away, did their own thing, and eventually one of them destroyed the entire infrastructure that made the National Wrestling Alliance work. Right now, what do you got? You have the independent scene. You have Major League Wrestling. You have now, Fourth Rope Wrestling. You got Border City Wrestling. You've had DDT. I know that's it's in Japan, but not Japan. But I think they also have a branch here. You got New Japan Pro Wrestling that does have a branch here, which is New Japan Pro Strong. You got AEW. You got still the National Wrestling Alliance being around, along with several other promotions out there that are trying to survive in the independent scene. This feels like it's going to be the same thing back in the 80s and early 90s, where WWE or WWF was trying to go head-to-head with them, which they are. So there's people that are not happy about this. I'm telling you. So one that is now working with the one that destroyed all of wrestling once and possibly doing again, what are they doing building into Bound for Glory? This is the first show before Bound for Glory. Let's go to Rhode Island, Kingston. Well, Kingston, Rhode Island. See, I'm dyslexic. I do things backwards. The first match is the Elegance brand versus the Inspiration, but it had one extra person. We had the former Miss Jackson, who was part of Metaphor, or the Meta Girls, who has been released many, many months ago, who went to Europe, I believe, and worked out in Europe, and then came back to America, and now has been given an opportunity at a debut in TNA. Mara Shade. I believe her name is Shade. Let me give it to you like this. Was the match bad? No. Did the Inspiration do what they did before? No. You saw that, and it was fine, seeing that the Elegance brand was messing with them going Inspiration. Yes, you saw them doing it, but they didn't do it. Which, that was the one thing I was very worried about. Let's make it very clear. Let me give it to you like this. When you look at Jessie and you look at Cassie, you think they're going to go back to falling into iconic attitude like they did when they were Inspiration. So far, they have not done it. And that's good. It is what they should have done when they were back there 4 years ago. Well, actually 3.5 years ago. But we had like 4 or 5 months of build-up before they came in. Before they were finally shown on Impact Wrestling. And it was not great. I know people were happy to see them. There was some that was even fun to go and see them like this. But they promised on multiple podcasts they were not going to do the iconic thing. But they did. But now, this time around, both of them are mothers now. One has 2 kids. That's Cassie. One that has, I think, 1. I think Jessie has only one child. I think it's a son. And Cassie has 2 children. I think they finally learned they didn't need to use the same stick. But we still don't know yet. Yes, the interviews have been pretty good. And some of the wrestling hasn't been totally bad. Let's make it very clear. Both Cass and Jess are not great wrestlers. They're okay wrestlers. And when you see the former Miss Jackson, the former Mara Shade, she's not a great wrestler either. She's okay. Let me give it to you like this. As a 5'2" player, what does she have? Does she have a good look? Yes, she does. She's a gorgeous woman with a great set of boobs. And she's a beautiful looking woman. Does she have the ability to talk? Somewhat. She's not that bad of a talker. Does she have charisma? When she was part of Metaphor, not a lot, because she was more of a manager than she was a wrestler, at least until the end when she was finally wrestling with Lash Legend. Does she tell a story in the ring? No. She doesn't tell a story in the ring. She usually works with someone who can tell the story. Is she a ring general? No. This is what we got. We got a very good-looking woman who has somewhat good mic skills, who really doesn't have a lot of charisma, who is not a ring general, but can tell a story when the other person's telling it for her. That's what we got. And she's working with the former Iconics, who are now Inspiration, who went away for 3 years, had kids, come back, and they do have personality. You can't lie about that. They have a certain level of personality. They have a good look like Miss Mara Shade does. They're just as that. And their ring work, I think, is at least a step better than Mara Shade's is. Versus the... I know people are going to say, dude, you're trying to compare them being better than the Elegance brand. Right? No, I'm not going to. The person there in the Elegance brand who's not the greatest wrestler but has the biggest personality is Ash herself. It's not just because she's got the biggest tits there, because she does. She has the biggest personality. You may not like it, but that's the truth. M doesn't have a personality yet. Heather does have a personality. But she's not as big in personality as Ash. Ash is the leader of it. And the one who holds them together is the Iceman, the concierge. That's the deal. That's what we got. And of course, there was cheating done. And the Elegance brand did not win. This is the setup to allow. And it was Jess who got the pin on Heather, not Ash. Or M. It was Heather. One of the most well-rounded wrestlers I can see. Yeah, she can talk pretty well. She has a good body. She does know how to tell a decent story in the ring. Is she a ring general? I doubt it, but she's okay-ish if she could work with somebody. That's the most well-rounded wrestler amongst those three. That's obvious. And taking nothing from Ash, she can wrestle to an extent. She can somewhat tell a story in the ring. She can talk. She's got charisma. Yes, she got a great pair here. No one's going to lie about that. That's one of the things that she knows she has, and she's used it to her abilities, which was the wisest thing. There's nothing wrong with using your sexuality, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that'll be wrong is that you try to have an attitude in the back because of it. She doesn't have that. So she's doing decently well, and now we're going to have to build again for the inspiration, trying to get back at those titles. Fine. Mace. Why? Warner versus Jake something. The only thing I can think of, the reason they're facing each other again, is not about having a feud. It's about becoming a tag team. That's what I'm thinking is happening. I truly believe, and this is what I'm thinking, because Hammerstone is gone, and there was actually some story there. The personality of Hammerstone and Jake something actually worked. They looked like a real legitimate tag team. Jake was able to pick up for where Hammerstone was, and Hammerstone was able to pick up where Jake was. And it worked. But then Hammerstone is gone. He got injured, and he was done. That was the second injury for him, and they just let him go. Or he didn't resign. So now, the way you look at it, you're going to see these two feuding for a while, and then I think they're going to make them be a tag team. Because that's what it feels like. Look, we had a no count, no DQ. Pretty much, you just got to pin the guy in the ring. You literally saw them do thumbtacks on the outside. That's very rare to do. And I'm sure people say, oh no, it's not. Yes, it is. It is very rare to do thumbtacks on the outside because of what happened to Jake something's left arm. One of the reasons why is what you don't know. One of the reasons why they do a lot of these moves inside the ring is because, remember, the ring has springs. Yes, it's got a foam this thick. They got wood that are usually plywood, but then they got springs that allow it to flex. That is one of the ways they somewhat minimize the damage you can get from anything that's in the ring that you land on. Because as it is, even if it's solid, because the ring flexes, it does make it a little easier on the body. Particularly with the thumbtacks. That you don't have to worry 100% too much about the thumbtacks raking your skin, because when it flexes, it kind of moves there and then a little bit, not complete because you still can be raked, but usually the flexing can help to try and minimize not so much of the ring ripping at your skin too easily. But when you're outside on the mat that's this thick and there's no give, it is solid, the only thing you get is just the mat slightly flexing. And you saw Jake's arm gashed. That's one of the major issues of it. It doesn't give. What gives is you. You are the one that gives. It is not the floor or the mat that gives. And when Mace Warner was suplexed on it, and you can see that when he suplexed him, his arm was trapped under his body. And unlike when the mat flexes, which it kind of gives a little bit to not wrap around his body. There's no way it's going to do that. But because it moves like that, at least Mace could go down a little bit, go up, and he can move off him much more easier. There's no way of that happening there. So he gouged his arm. That was nasty. But he won the match. What now? If they are going to try and pit these guys against each other for a while, and then have them as a tag team, I say at least 3, 4, maybe 5 more times they're going to have a match, if they go there. Unless this is the end of it, and I don't really know where they're going to go with Warner or Jake something. I'm just saying. Next match. The Good Hands versus Myers and Matt Cardona. Now, I will talk about what happened in the beginning of the show, but pretty much you already know what happened. That Santino gave the system the ability to get back at Order 4. Because they're the ones who kind of instigated this damn thing in the first place, pissing them off. So the match was alright. Due to the fact of a new guy, super tall, well, not super tall. You got Matt Cardona, the guy was maybe about this much taller than Matt. Or almost near the same height as Matt, but he was like that. He basically sky-high'd his ass. And then you could see Skyler getting the pin. Now, the match was good. It wasn't bad. Seeing that it's been more than 2 years, maybe 2.5 years since Matt Cardona and Brian Myers have been together, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. But who is the guy that got there? I don't recognize him. Maybe he's someone you guys know. I don't immediately recognize him. If I have seen him before, I don't remember. But this is about the factions. You got Order 4 going against the system, going against First Class with Tricky there. That's what we got. Not talking about Dark State, which would make four factions, which I think they'll keep doing Dark State, but it's going to be random. But it's okay. Last match, Santana versus the Average Joe of Joe Henry. That was the best match of the night, hands down. There ain't no lie about it. There ain't nothing to talk about. That was the best match of the night. I liked how there was a lot of back and forth between the two. They were very comparable to each other. And it made perfect sense because this is what they had to do. Look, each of them tried to get the title from Trick. And every time they failed, either because of outside interference or Trick had to cheat on his own to try and keep the damn title. And now they pit against each other to see who is the best one to go forward trying to get the damn title by Bound for Glory. And there was no cheating, no general nastiness. It was just two guys going at each other that they respect each other enough, even shake each other's hands, even though Santana didn't want to do it. He's like me. Well, not like me. I'm a very kind person, but Santana's a New Yorker. He ain't going to play around. He don't like you. He don't give a damn how respectful you are acting. He's going to whoop your ass. He ain't going to shake your hand. But if you earn this respect, even if he don't like you, he'll shake your hand, which he did. And at the end, now Santana's the one who's moving more forward to deal with Trick Williams. But the question is, how are they going to deal with him? And how are you going to do this with Joe Henry? Is he about to turn heel? Or is he going to go and do something? Don't know yet. Now, let's go to the parts in the back that I felt really made this show good. Yes, you got some good wrestling. But what's going to lead into the next couple of weeks, going into Bound for Glory, in the next couple of months, you needed this. You needed the first episode of TNA to mean something. And this is what we got. Let's start with Leon Slater. Now, I know not everyone likes Leon. I know they don't, because they think he's not that great. But I can tell you that he's more developed than most of the people that you would see in NXT. He is. And the way he spoke was done pretty well. He never expected... Well, he thought it was crazy that he actually became the youngest champion. But he made it very clear... excuse me. He's going to defend that title and make it good. He put over Moose, making it very clear that even after what he did, Moose showed him respect, and he respect Moose. But then he made it clear that every person next to Moose, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, he mentioned all the people that are either in WWE or AEW. There's no restriction, which is good. And there shouldn't be. You need to hear that Samoa Joe is a former X Division champion. If they restrict him, that made no sense. So it's good that they've been making sure they give those the respect they deserve, even if they're in another company. There's nothing wrong with it. Called out the Hardys. Great. Hardys got their titles. But then, as they talk, Macklin comes out. And I'm going, this is interesting. Macklin puts over the new X Division. He basically says, you feel me, boy? You feel me, brother? Not saying to feel me, but do you get me, brother? And he does. And he makes it very clear he shows respect to the Hardys, saying, my mentors, my peers, are the ones who have taught me. And then he talked about himself, saying simply, a grunt who didn't know he was coming home is now not only a champion, but also the first and still holding international champion. He actually spoke very well. I did like that segment and making it very clear that anyone who wants to come in this company, if they're from here or not, we are going to make sure that you see yourself in a war. Because we're not giving up our titles too easily. Because he does say, we got two people who got titles from this company. They're not from this company. He's making it very clear that neither one of them got no damn respect. Which they don't as heels. But I felt that that segment was done very well. Was it perfect? It wasn't perfect, but it was good. Leon was the one who sounds like he needs a little bit more practice in his promos. Of course, he's still very young in the business. Even though he's worked 11 years, he's never worked in a promotion like TNA. So this is his time to really grow. Hardys are always the Hardys. And Macklin, for his part, since he's a face now, I think he's done pretty well. I really do like him as a face. Is he better as a heel? Oh, hell yeah. He's an evil bastard. And I like him as a heel when he's an evil bastard. But he's doing pretty well as a face. He's not perfect, but he's good. At least he gets his point across. And he makes sure that you have some emotion. That's good. Now, seeing Kaz get kicked out of commentary by Matthew. Now, that was interesting to see what this is mean. Because, yes, at Slammiversary, Kaz screwed over Santana. Screwed Santana and Joe Henry. Mostly Santana. And Matthew was like, no. I've been a fan of you, but that was wrong. Get him out of here. So now the question is going to be, what does this mean for Kaz? And more. What does this mean for Matthew Rinwald? Because now he got his ass ejected from ringside in commentary. What does that mean? Is there going to be a match between the two? Because this is going to be interesting. Matthew doesn't wrestle. At least in TNA. I have seen him, I think, once or twice has wrestled in Japan. But I think that was a few years ago. I don't know if he still wrestles. I think he does. But what does that actually mean, seeing him wrestle in TNA? It would be interesting. He has not wrestled in quite a long time if they go there. So if they do this, who is going to be working with Tom if Matt gets a match? Now, I did hear a former TNA wrestler, I don't remember his name right now, weeks ago, was supposed to actually do some commentary work. So maybe this might be that part that I read about in one of the sites, that someone, I don't remember his name, you'll probably tell me who he is, but it's going to be a question if he comes in and takes Matthew's position. Because if Matthew becomes a wrestler, him putting him in there, and he used to be a wrestler, as a color commentator would make perfect sense. Next. Let's make this clear at the beginning of the show. You get the opening with Santino Marella talking about him going after am I looking forward of Ethan Page going against Santino Marella for the North American Championship at NXT? Maybe, if he wins. If. But then Marsha comes out saying, I want my damn rematch clause. But then I'm like, why are you rushing it for next week? Shouldn't you, there's supposed to be another Impact show, another TNA Plus, not Impact Plus. A TNA Impact. I think the reason I'm botching here, when I get frustrated about something, I botch. Why? Because I don't understand why they don't build it. One of the problems they had with Slammiversary was they didn't really build it 100%, but they did build it enough that was good. Why are they going into the next TNA Plus show and not let Marsha have this? Now, I know Marsha's not going to probably drop it on a TNA Plus show, but are you going to do it on an Impact show? Why not do it at an Impact, TNA Plus show? I think the next one is I don't remember, either Turning Point or Emergence. I think it's Turning Point. I don't remember. I think. I could be wrong. You guys tell me below. I don't remember which one is the next show. I legitimately don't remember. But why? Why are you rushing it? Give it some time. I'm just saying. Then we get the system coming out, telling Santino, you know what? We'll be here for you. We have our moments, and this is Eddie. We had our moments. We don't always agree. And I've gone against TNA in the past, but this is wrong. We got people who have our title. And I will fight for the people in the back, man and woman. And then as everyone else talked, the one who spoke the best was Moose. I wasn't too surprised. Moose made it very clear. Pointed to him and Eddie. Called Eddie the heart and soul of TNA. He called himself the franchise. And because he's a franchise, he needs to get the TNA title back. Trick comes out. Trick comes out with First Class. And I'm surprised. I'm telling you right now, I'm very surprised. You can say a lot about Top Dollar, AJ Francis. But that boy legitimately did a ladder match where he had both his legs go between the rung of a ladder and his nuts got squished. And he's still up and walking. And I know that shit had to hurt. So seeing him in there is all right. That's good enough for me. But they come out, Trick talks, saying that Trick and A and First Class Trick and A is always better than everybody. And he toned down a little bit of Moose. I'll give it to you like this. It was a good segment from him. It wasn't the best. I'll say this about Trick. He's a great talker. But his delivery sometimes is not always the best. It's clearly. He needs work. But then you see Mustafa Ali come out with Auto 4. And of course, Trick talked about him. Messed with him. But he said to Trick, you know what? Next time you better not put put my name in your mouth, or I'm going to knock my foot down your throat. Pretty much that's what he was saying. Went down to the ring, saying he was better than Order 4 that, well, he is better than Order 4, that's what he thinks. But Order 4 is the most dominant faction of the three that's present, of First Class and the system and themselves. And as he gets into the ring, the fight. And that's what it leads to what we got later in the night, which was Matt Cardona versus the system. Matt Cardona and the system, Brian Myers, versus the great hands, not good hands, the great hands. Let's put this in perspective. Was this a good show? It wasn't bad. And it builds on what we got at Slammiversary. Do I believe that this is going to give us something great going into the next TNA Plus show? I don't know. We still got a long way before we get to Bound for Glory in October. So they got at least one or two more TNA Plus shows to go. But I kind of wish, like Marsha Slamovich, she did not have a match next week. It wasn't necessary. Are we going to have a feud between Kaz and Matthew Rinwald? And is that other guy that was mentioned at least 2 or 3 weeks ago, is he going to take his place while Matthew is going to be wrestling? I don't know. Only thing I do know is I'm curious. And then, yes, I can talk about JC James and her segment, which I am. I'm doing it now. Did she do well? Yeah. But now the question's going to be, what are they going to be doing with Indy? What are they going to be doing with Danny Luna dealing with Victoria Crawford as their mentor? When is Tessa coming back from her suspension? And what does this mean for Gia Miller? Is Gia Miller coming back? And is she going to be back and going to wrestle? Remember, we have not seen Gia Miller wrestle since what? Throwback Throwdown 4, I believe. That was the last time we saw her wrestle at all on TNA TV. When it was Impact. The last time, that was years ago. I do not know if she still wrestles. She probably does. But we've not seen it on our own TV. We've not seen it in Impact. So are we going to get this? I don't know. There's a lot of questions. But this is part of the aftermath. And I hope you enjoy this show. Give me a like. And make sure you either comment or like, because YouTube has now changed the algorithm again. Peace.